on the CFL Report. Week 10 highlights include a dramatic BC Lion victory over the Blue Bombers. The Argos and Ticats, a rematch in Week 11, and it could be a kicker's duel. And the Eskimos have taken a computer approach to injury problems. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. Hello, everyone. I'm John Wells, and this is the CFL Report on TSN. Suddenly, parity has arrived in Canadian football. 10 weeks into the 87 season, 4 teams share identical 6-3 records. What makes it even more interesting, 2 are from the Eastern Division and 2 from the West. The Blue Bombers' loss to the Lions creates a tie for first in the East with the Tiger Cats. Both teams have 12 points, 3 ahead of the third-place Argos. Ottawa, with 6 straight losses, in serious trouble, to say the least. In the West, even at the top again. The Eskimos were alone in first place for 2 days, but the Lions are even again, now at 6-3. Calgary stays a point ahead of Saskatchewan in the race for third. Week 10 highlights a little bit later on the CFL Reports. First, though, another chapter from the CFL Notebook with Peter Watts.
Thank you, John. I want to talk about rivalries on this week's edition of the CFL Notebook. Labor Day is the time when geographic rivals traditionally meet, and the games often are highly competitive and set the tone for the stretch run to the playoffs. We'll do that in just a moment. First, though, a look at some key players who were in action on the weekend. John Hufnagel may have played his last football game. The veteran quarterback ruptured his Achilles Friday night during the loss to the Eskimos. He had surgery on Sunday and hoped to be back coaching at practice today, but he will need a golf cart to get around the practice field. The rehabilitation process will take at least 8 months, and the hope must be that Hufnagel will be able to walk without discomfort, not that he can play football again. The Riders also lost running back Tim McRae to injury. He'll be on reserve for a while as well, with Walter Bender likely to take his place. When it comes to injuries, though, it never rains when it pours, and the Riders can ill afford to lose anyone. In Edmonton, the news is much better. Quarterback Matt Dunnigan is making a quick recovery from an injury suffered in Toronto last month. Dunnigan will miss Monday's game in Calgary, but might be ready to play the following week. Remember James Parker? The Shenley Award winner was lost to the Lions before training camp even began, and yet BC, if anything, is playing better than ever. Parker is working hard on his rehabilitation program, and there's a chance he could play toward the end of this season. Right now, though, the Lions can afford to take the time to make sure he's completely sound. And one more note from Regina. Veteran defensive tackle Rick Goltz was cut Tuesday. The 10-year CFLer has been hobbled by a bad ankle and seems not able to keep up anymore. Alan Johns takes over on the Riders line. Now to rivalries. John and Leaf will be analyzing this weekend's matchups in more detail later in this half hour. But Labor Day traditionally has meant high-scoring, entertaining football, and this weekend should be no different. Sunday, it's Winnipeg at Saskatchewan. Bombers hold an 84-59 edge in wins since the modern era began in 1946. There have also been 3 ties. Winnipeg has also won 7 of the last 10 games. Monday, the Eskimos tackled the Stampeders at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Over 5,000 tickets for the game have been sold in Edmonton, attesting to the competitive nature of this rivalry. The Eskimos have dominated the series, winning 9 of the last 10 games. Edmonton holds an 80-48 lead with 4 ties over the last 4 decades. The last time Calgary beat the Eskimos was Labor Day 4 years ago at McMahon Stadium. And as the Eskimos and the Stampeders are finishing up in Calgary, the Argonauts and the Ticats will be getting underway in Hamilton. This rivalry is that much more intense this year because both clubs are battling for second place in the East Division, and both clubs are playing better football than they have in recent years. Ticats lead the series 86-58 with 4 ties, but the Argos have won 6 of the last 10 games, and the Argos have already won once this year at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Great rivalries, great football as the CFL marks the Labor Day weekend. I'm Peter Watts, and that's CFL Notebook.
Okay, Peter, more from the Notebook in 7 days. In a moment, Week 10 highlights on TSN's CFL Report. Welcome back to the CFL Report. Coming up a little later, Ken Chillibeck has an interesting report from Edmonton on computing the injuries. And as usual, Leif Pedersen picks the weekly winners. Right now, the highlights. And no major surprises as the Tiger Cats, Lions, and Eskimos came up the winners in Week 10. The Eskimos wasted little time in getting on the scoreboard. Third play of the game, Damon Allen, starting for the injured Matt Dunnigan, went deep to Stephon Jones. Jones made a circus catch in double coverage, a 31-yard touchdown, and a 7-0 Edmonton lead. Still in the first, Allen found slot back Rick House wide open in the end zone. A 25-yard scoring strike, Edmonton in command at 15-0. With a score 18-3, Edmonton added more. The big play this time, Tom Richards fielded a punt and went around the right side. Richards raced 88 yards for the touchdown, and at halftime, the Eskimos led the Rough Riders 25-3. Saskatchewan had veteran quarterback John Hufnagel in the lineup for the first time, but his presence wasn't enough to get the Rough Riders past Edmonton. The Eskimos picked off 3 Hufnagel tosses and went on to record their 6th win of the season. The final score, 39-13. In Hamilton, the Tiger Cats and the Ottawa Rough Riders played an error-filled game that saw the home team jump to an early lead and then hang on for the victory. With a score 7-1 in the first quarter, Ticat quarterback Tom Porras found his favorite receiver Steve Stapler in the end zone for a 40-yard touchdown. For Stapler, a league-leading 8th touchdown on the season. The teams then traded touchdowns before Ottawa quarterback Joe Paopao passed 10 yards to wide receiver James Hood. The Rough Riders had pulled to within 6 at 21-15. Now, late in the game, Ottawa trailed 28-21, but threatened to score the decisive touchdown. Todd Dillon's pass attempt intercepted by linebacker Ed Gadavakis at the 2-yard line. The Tiger Cats improved their record to 6-3 with a 28-23 win over Ottawa. Finally, the Sunday matinee between the Blue Bombers and the BC Lions. 1-0 Winnipeg, 2 minutes left in the first half. Then the Lions exploded for 20 points. Roy DeWalt hit Ray Krause over the middle for a 26-yard scoring strike. The Lions in front 7-1. On the next series, Winnipeg quarterback Tom Clemens picked off by cornerback Keith Gooch. Gooch raced 36 yards for the touchdown, his 3rd interception of the season. A pair of Louis Pasaglia field goals made it 20-1 BC at the intermission. Second half, different story. Running back Willard Reeves had only 13 yards rushing on the day, but he scored on a 1-yard plunge and a 17-yard reception to bring the Bombers within 7 at 23-16. In the fourth quarter, a 68-yard interception return for a touchdown by Winnipeg's Ken Haley, and the game was even at 23.
There is a flag, we remind you, but it's not certain what it's for. Haley is in the end zone.
Final minute of play. Winnipeg forced the Lions into punting from the Bomber 49. Ken Winey fielded the punt 4 yards deep in the end zone and was tackled by BC's Paul Nastasiuk. That was the game-winning single. The BC Lions over the Bombers, 24-23. The Lions' victory creates a tie for first place in both divisions. 4 teams now, BC, Edmonton in the West, Winnipeg and Hamilton in the East, all even in wins and losses, all at 6-3. A look at the matchups in Week 11 a little later. Right now, the TSN Players of the Week. First up, from Edmonton's win over Saskatchewan, quarterback Damon Allen had impressive stats before leaving the game with a minor knee injury. 10 of 15 passing, 209 yards, a pair of touchdown tosses, no interception. In Hamilton Saturday night, the Ticat defense had a strong game, and it was led by backup linebacker Ed Gadavakis. Filling in for the injured Ben Zambiazzi, Gadavakis recorded 3 tackles, 2 interceptions in the Tiger Cats' win over the Rough Riders. And finally, from BC's last-minute win over Winnipeg, cornerback Keith Gooch was instrumental in the Lions' 20-point explosion late in the first half. 2 interceptions, including 1 for a 36-yard touchdown, 1 solo tackle, 1 pass knockdown. That earns Gooch a nomination as TSN Player of the Week. Still ahead, TSN's Canadian Player of the Week and preview reports on the rematch, the Argonauts and the Tiger Cats at Ivor Wynne. This is the CFL Report on TSN. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Leif Pedersen picks the Week 11 winners a little later. Right now, TSN's Canadian players from Week 10. The runner-up, Edmonton's Rick House. The veteran slot back had 4 catches for 63 yards and a pair of touchdowns in Week 10. The winner of TSN's Canadian Player of the Week, linebacker Ed Gadavakis of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Against Ottawa, the 6-year veteran out of Acadia University had 2 interceptions, including the game's key play, an interception of Todd Dillon's pass at the Tiger Cat 2-yard line in the final minutes of the game. Gadavakis also credited with an additional 3 solo tackles in his 5th start of '87. Ed Gadavakis off the bench to lead the Tiger Cats defense in place of the injured Ben Zambiasi. Injuries are an everyday occurrence in a game as physical as football. With the need to get players back in the game as quickly as possible, teams go to great lengths to analyze the rehabilitation of injured players. Ken Chillibeck has a look at a unique approach to the road to recovery utilized by the Eskimos.
Thanks, John. This is the training room of the Edmonton Eskimos. In it, all the facilities needed to try and get a player back into shape and back in the field playing again. Everything from the ultrasound equipment, the whirlpool room, and in this room they have the computer. Ken Lowe is the man behind the computer, the Eskimos trainer. When you see a trainer help a player off the field, that's when the major work begins for him. And a computer plays a big part for Lowe in dealing with the various injuries.
It makes it a lot more convenient, a lot more easier to crisscross the injuries we have during the season. At the end of the season, when you sit down, you try to look, okay, where we had injuries, what were the injury caused, what was the primary injury that we had. It makes it really easy so we can see. I can look at different players, what injuries they had, what were the conditions of the injuries they had, and that sort of thing.
Lowe usually has somewhere around 10 to 12 players to work on after every game.
Yeah, I know, I ripped the tape job. Okay, let's go to Whirlpool. We got that done. Good.
One priority for Lowe right now is quarterback Matt Dunnigan. Dunnigan has been out for a number of weeks now with a pulled hamstring.
As a trainer and watching how much he can put out, it's telling me the strength of the leg, and that's what we're basically looking at, one leg versus the other. We compare his good leg from his injured leg. You're almost even with this one.
Ultrasound treatments are just one way for dealing with the healing process. Now back at the computer, Lowe is inputting the type of treatment each of the injured players are getting.
We put the player, the date of the injury, the circumstance, whether it was a practice, a game, or non-applicable, meaning it was on the off season, the body part, the body side indicating which side it was, the type of injury it is, the severity of the injuries, the treatment, and then important, the days lost due to the injury.
The computer allows him to analyze the type of injuries that are happening. It maybe could have something to do with the type of shoes used on a certain type of playing field. Information that's invaluable.
The head coach wanted to know what type of injury we had during the season. They've always wanted to try to reduce the number of injuries that there is, and if we can find a correlation to particular days versus conditions, and maybe we can reduce 1 or 2 injuries. And you know, in the game, if you can reduce 1 injury, it could be saving you a lot of money.
There's a lot that goes into getting a player back into shape and on the field playing again after an injury. Eskimos trainer Ken Lowe uses really whatever facilities available to him, and that includes even a computer. Ken Chillibeck in Edmonton for CFL Report. Now back to Toronto with John Wells.
Okay, Ken, an innovative idea to a common problem in Canadian football. In Week 11, we look forward to a classic confrontation as the Argonauts and the Tiger Cats get together for the 3rd time this season. To set it up, 2 reports. The first from Peter Watts with the Argonauts.
Thank you, John. This great rivalry involving the Argonauts and the Ticats renewed again this weekend at Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton. On paper, at least, this game shapes up as a matchup featuring the Ticat receivers on the one hand and the Argonaut defensive backs on the other. The last time these two teams met, the Hamilton receivers won it handily. We'll see if the Argos are equal to a rematch.
By 7. Forrest on 2nd down has Stapler wide open at the 45. He put a move on.
The Ticats have become a big play football team. Stapler, Champion, Winfield, Shepdelaine, Zachary. Quarterback Tom Porras has an impressive list of weapons to unleash when the Ticats have the football. Those weapons somehow have to be disarmed, and the Argonauts secondary will play a major role in trying to do just that.
We just can't sit back in the zone and let people attack us like we've been doing. And now I think the coaches do have some confidence in us, and hopefully now we can put some pressure on some people and get after them.
Why do you feel vulnerable in the zone?
Well, it's not that you feel we're a good zone team, and we like to take away the big plays that people have, but you have to be able to mix it up in this league, because right now I think people are they're picking on the fact that they know sometimes what we're going to be doing, and that's the problem. It's not that we feel we're vulnerable, but it's just on a consistent basis you got to be able to mix it up.
What is the advantage of being able to play some man-to-man coverages?
Well, I think that it's nice when you can mix it up and give the quarterback some different looks. And not only that, at a crucial time in the game, it's nice if you can get after them and maybe cause a quarterback sack, a fumble, a big play, an interception. And sometimes I think we're just sitting back and letting people come after us. And, they've attacked us pretty well, and they've got a lot of yardage on us. So to be able to blitz them and to get after them and get up and really shut down some of the best receivers is a good idea.
After a sloppy start to the season, the Argonaut secondary has settled down a bit. It gave up a lot of yardage in the loss to Hamilton 2 weeks ago, but the feeling is that the talent is there and the defenders will get better as they spend more time together.
We're going to have to tighten down on the receivers a little bit. They throw a lot of timing routes, and we're going to have to concentrate a little more on our individual man. We're going to all have to take it upon ourselves to get the job done.
Of course, there's another side to this story, and that involves the Ticat plans for the Boatmen this weekend. Mark Jones is in Hamilton to pick up that side.
Thanks, Peter. You know, the Hamilton Tiger Cats consider their last win over the Argonauts merely fitting justice. You see, in the first meeting, Hamilton lost in the dying moments of the game. In the second meeting, Hamilton won as Bernie Ruoff kicked a last-second field goal. So the Ticats considered it payback time, and they paid Toronto back in nickels and dimes. I'm talking about the nickel and dime passing attack of Tom Porras.
Porras picked away at the Argonauts a little at a time with the help of his talented wide receivers.
Winnipeg's the untouchables, we're the unheard ofs. So we plan to mix it up just like we've been doing, and it's not one single receiver. Even though Steve Stapler has been doing a great job leading the league right now, he's been the only one that's been in the lineup, I think, consistently, week in, week out.
The Hamilton offense is in high gear. A lot of the credit goes to first-year offensive coordinator Jerry Keeling.
Other than letting us call our own plays, no, we just go with the film altogether, and we pretty much pick and choose what we think will go against every team. So we have a little more freedom, I think, this year.
I think all quarterbacks like to call their own plays. We started off because, when I came here, they said that's what they did last year, that the coaches call the plays from up in the press box. And so I started off the year calling the plays. As it went along, I found that for me, it was hard for me to call the plays and do the things that I needed to do up in the spotter's box at halftime. And the quarterbacks wanted to call their own, so we kind of gradually started letting them call some and eventually got to the point where they were calling all their plays.
This game could be a battle of receivers. The Ticats must keep a close eye on Darryl Smith. He's had a field day against Hamilton.
When you play against tough receivers like that, you have to play a physical game all 60 minutes, and that's what we have to do against T.O. all the time.
It's been a while since the Hamilton Tiger Cats have won 5 games in a row. Nothing would be sweeter for them than to have number 6 come against their arch rivals, the Argonauts. Every time these two sides get together, it's a tight finish, so the winner might not be the team that necessarily plays the better overall game, just the team that has the ball in the last minute. Mark Jones for the CFL Report. Now back to John.
Okay, Mark, the season series between the Argos and the Ticats even at 1 win each. Ironically, the Argonauts won in Hamilton, the Tiger Cats in Toronto. Leif Pettersson joins me now, and I suppose that means it's the Argos' turn this weekend.
Well, tradition would say that, John, over the last couple of years, but I don't think so. Hamilton, what I really like about Hamilton, okay, last weekend they play Ottawa. They did not play a great game. Porras didn't have a good night. Defensively, they were so-so, but you know what? The good teams win even when they don't play well. So that's the good thing about Hamilton. The bad thing is they play at home against Toronto, where they haven't had a great deal of success, but that will change in week 11.
Well, let's look back to week 10 one more brief moment. Was there a surprise in the fact that the Lions beat the Blue Bombers?
Well, now, of course, I wanted Winnipeg. Everybody knows I like Winnipeg, and what a play to win the game. Passaglio, great punt and good coverage downfield to get it, but it was a sloppy game for two quality football teams. Pretty sloppy. BC early lead, hung on to win, but I don't know. Winnipeg should have had it late in the game.
That was the only one you missed. We'll pick some Week 11 winners with Leif Pedersen on TSN CFL Report right after this. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Leif Pedersen has another good week, 2 out of 3, but I think it's interesting. We look at the bottom line here, Leif. 23, 12, and 1 on the season.
I'm back to normal. I had a couple of shaky weeks in a row, but now 2 good weeks in a row, 2 for 3 last week. And, well, I mean, I could have been 3 for 3 had Trevor Kennard not let me down.
All right, don't worry about that.
Like he doesn't miss, but he missed. Oh.
70% on the season is not bad. Let's look ahead to Week 11. Just 3 games this week, 2 Labor Day Monday and 1 on Sunday. We'll begin with the Winnipeg-Saskatchewan game Sunday in Regina.
Well, on paper, you know, it doesn't look like a great matchup, but from playing in that game as a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders for 4 years, that's a big deal. The Labor Day Classic with the Bombers coming into town. So I think that Saskatchewan, although their record isn't very good, will play better. I don't think they can win the football game, but I think it could be a good one.
Now, the Roughriders have a habit of drawing a good team that has come off a tough week before. They've got the Blue Bombers losing last week, and so that makes Winnipeg even more.
You know, every time Winnipeg's lost in the week before, they played well the following week, and I suspect they'll do well. I think they have to get back to their rushing game again. They got away from that last weekend at BC Place, and that was just dictated by the Lion defense, but I think we'll see Willard Reeves back involved in the offense a little more.
Let's look at the X's. Leif Pedersen likes the Blue Bombers in this one in every category but special teams. What, are you just feeling sorry for the Rough Riders?
No, I'm not feeling so. I like Dave Ridgway. He's a good quality kicker, and I'm mad at Trevor Kennard because he missed 2 field goals that cost me the game.
All right, lucky you didn't have money on the line. The holiday Monday, a couple of games, and it'll be Toronto and Hamilton, the rematch we spoke of and previewed earlier. You say the Tiger Cats will win. Well,
they've got such a good streak going right now, and I like the way they're playing. And forget about the tradition that they can't handle Toronto at home. I think that if they get off to an early lead, they'll be able to hold it this time. That's what happened last time. Had a big lead and let Toronto back in the game. But I like the Ticats. This should be a good game, though. Great game. Good crowd, I hope.
Iverwin Stadium, it looks like the Tiger Cats, according to Leif Pedersen. Every category down the right side for the Tiger Cats, except you call it even in rushing and even in special teams.
Yeah, a couple of evens there. Rushing, Fennerty, you know, he's had a couple of weeks now to get that ankle healthy, and they need him healthy. But Hamilton does a good job rushing the football. But I think Tom Porras is the key, and he's been able to get that ball to Stapler and Champion, and they've looked very, very tough.
The other game on Holiday Monday, the Eskimos and the Stampeders in Calgary. This is another traditional Labor Day matchup.
Well, it sure is. And, you know, Calgary struggled, but they had the big win, coaching change. Now everything seems to be a little bit better there. They've had a couple of weeks off, so Larry Kahara can implement any new things he wants to. And I don't know, I'm going to go out on a limb, and the sentimental favorite, Calgary at home, give it to those. I know you'll be watching the game at home in your living room with the Edmonton jersey on. You'll be cheering them on, and I'll be at my house, and I'll be saying, come on, Stampeders, beat Wells' team.
Well, you're still happy they got rid of Bob Vespasiani, so I mean, now you've picked this team, and this is your own. It is the Stampeders, according to Leif Pedersen, in the rushing category. Give passing, front 7, secondary to the Eskimos. Secondary is even, as Leif sees it there, and the special teams to the Calgary Stampeders.
You know, one guy who's played great for Calgary has been Ronnie Hopkins, their cornerback. He's had some key interceptions this year, and he's having an all-star year, and he might be the one guy that could turn a game around like this. But I'm going to say Calgary at home. Come on, Stamps.
Leif Pedersen is out on the limb. That's this edition of TSN CFL Report. We'll be back in 7 days with another one. Thanks for watching.
TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.